Star Tim Malcolm is a charismatic franchise icon, but he's also a very flawed individual. Is Veronica's ex just a monster now? 90-Day Fiance star Tim Malcolm is one of the most famous franchise cast members, and he's extremely controversial. Tim's gone to the dark side, getting involved in heated feuds with co-stars and fans. He's a pillow talk sensation that some people tried to cancel. Since he never stops putting himself out there, Tim's a target. However, he also takes aim. When he does, he really unloads. The 90-Day Fiance celeb is most famous because of his former romance with Veronica Rodriguez. They were very close, and Tim was a father figure to Veronica's daughter. However, their relationship unraveled. They began to argue about money and other practical matters, and their focus on the mundane drained the magic out of their relationship. Although they chose to end things, they remained friends. Both moved on with other partners, but those new romances weren't so serious. For a while, Tim dated 90-Day Fiance's Linda Ramirez. However, there was always hope that he'd reconcile with Veronica. So far, that hasn't happened, perhaps because fame went to Tim's head. It's possible that Tim didn't like being criticized by Tarek Meyer's brother Dean Hashim on Pillow Talk. Tim might have gotten revenge by getting Dean fired. If he did that, he's such a vindictive person. Sure, Dean might have gone too far, but allegedly taking away a gig that put Dean in the spotlight would be a major villain move. If Tim got the chance, he might do the same thing to his other franchise enemies. Is there evil in Tim's heart? Is he all bad? Maybe not, but this side of him isn't so pretty. Fashionista Tim puts a lot of energy into his image, but what's inside? Sure, he was a paternal presence in Veronica's daughter's life, which is sweet and admirable. However, that doesn't make up for what he does to other people. Jeffrey Paschal said that Tim got Dean fired, but Tim denied it. He stated, as per Monsters and Critics, it has to be said that Dean was extremely offensive on Pillow Talk, making tasteless remarks about Tim being transgender when Times never identified that way. Obviously, that wasn't very evolved. Dean tried to apologize, but Tim didn't want to make up. Tim's not a monster for refusing to accept that apology, as Dean's remarks were disgusting. However, getting someone fired over a grudge shows a lot of insecurity. Someone who's truly confident is probably not going to go that far. They aren't going to be so affected by what people say. The fight with Dean Hashim sparked a feud between two monsters, Tim and Jeffrey. The latter man didn't approve of Tim's role in the feud with Dean. Later, Tim said that he thinks Jeffrey mentions his name just to get attention. Also, Jeffrey did an offensive impersonation of Tim. It was rude and shockingly tone-deaf. It was a parody with homophobic overtones. Tim recently said he's not gay. Jeffrey obviously doesn't appreciate Tim's personality, as the crass impersonation was all about mocking what the jailbird perceives as Tim's effeminate traits. While Tim acts up and provokes people, he's not in the same villain league as Jeffrey. Jeffrey's currently in prison after being convicted of aggravated kidnapping, domestic assault, vandalism, and interfering with an emergency call. His partner Varia Molina is standing by him, but maybe extending her 15 minutes of fame is the reason why. Jeffrey's paying for his crimes but keeps insisting that he's been railroaded. Tim Malcolm promotes his company, which restores vintage firearms. While these guns aren't meant to be fired, they're basically decorations. He's definitely not anti-gun. On Instagram, Tim showed off a shiny golden gun that called to mind the James Bond flick, The Man with the Golden Gun. Tim's into some stuff that seems more liberal, such as wild fashion and hair, so his interest in guns may surprise some people. It's just another facet of his complex personality. He can be charming or mean. He can be the hero or the villain. It's not such a surprise that he chose to restore a gun in luminous gold, as he's a Leo. Ruled by the sun, this bold zodiac sign loves dramatic colors. Black, gold, and red bring out the beast in Leos. This sign never wants to fade into the woodwork. See the golden gun below, as per Tim's Instagram. His company's called Gringo Custom Designs, and the work the firm does is impressive. The firearm below has a mirror-like finish and custom grips. The sizable Leo ego is actually one of the reasons why Tim can be a monster sometimes. He's all about claiming the spotlight. Leos have a knack for getting, and staying, famous. Tim definitely cares about clout. and he's managed to extend his franchise stint for a long time. However, in his quest to entertain and remain a celebrity, he may offend others. Tim lacks a filter, and that can be a problem. In the post above, he's basically daring his haters to come after him, even if they're making rude comments, such as asking if he's transitioning from a woman to a man. Tim has never said he's trans. Ultimately, Tim just wants them to watch. He wants to stay famous. He wants 90 DF franchise paychecks. While his attitude, which is that people can say what they want, isn't exactly monstrous, inviting people to come and criticize him is strange. It may be a defense mechanism, but taunting his haters like that could backfire. They may get even meaner because he's daring them to say the worst. While Tim's bad sometimes, the type of criticism he gets is often way below the belt. It's tacky. During the 90-Day Fiance, The Other Way Season 4 tell-all, Tim got snarky about the Colombian woman, Jamie Noguera, implying that she was in her relationship for money rather than love. This could be construed as racist, and it was yet another example of Tim speaking without thinking. He may not have realized that there would be backlash when he insinuated that Jamie was a user. However, he needs to be more careful about who he attacks. He should never play into rude stereotypes, especially since he gets unfairly stereotyped too. In Tim's defense, people from all countries may be gold diggers. There's plenty of them right in America, so he may have had good reasons to be suspicious of 90-Day Fiance's Jamie Noguera. It did seem like she was using her partner sometimes. Nonetheless, since he's insulting a Colombian woman, he needs to understand that he is crossing a line. Debbie Aguero did the same thing during Part I of the tell-all, letting the world that she considered Jamie a predator. When Tim called Kenny daddy, it seemed like he was flirting with Armando Rubio's husband. Armando and Kenny have stuck it out together despite some major problems. They had trouble getting a wedding license in Mexico because they're a same-sex couple. It's terrible what they were subjected to as they were so much in love. Getting married was natural for them, and getting a license to wed should have been a simple matter. Kenny's proposal, as shown above via 90-Day Fiancé at YouTube, was simply adorable. It was very moving. They overcame that homophobic hurdle and tied the knot. It made so much sense to root for this couple. Kenny's proposal was really one of the most beautiful and memorable 90-Day Fiancé franchise moments. Kenny was so sincerely in love that it was all too easy to get choked up while the proposal played out on screen. His love seemed so real, so true. Kenny's a type of person who's actually a big softie. Yes, he gets cranky and impatient, but he'd do almost anything for Armando. So when Tim decided to call Kenny daddy, he was inserting himself into a 90-Day Fiancé relationship that's practically sacred. Yes, Kenny looks amazing for his age, but he's Armando's man. Tim and Kenny deny any romantic sparks between them, calling themselves buddies who like to share jokes and have fun. Naturally, calling Kenny daddy didn't stop the gay rumors. It added fuel to the fire. Julio said that Kristen cheated on him, and that accusation fueled the feud between Kristen and Tim. Tim gets so outspoken on Pillow Talk and during tell-alls, and sometimes he crosses lines, seriously offending the people around him. While his unfiltered approach has authenticity, it has triggered some nasty feuds. The issues with Kristen are just another example of Tim running amok and failing to consider the consequences. Julio, who broke up with Kristen, said that she called another man Papi while texting him. That was one of the reasons why he bailed out of the romance. On screen, Tim took Julio's side. There's chatter that he invited Kristen and bullied her for that reason. He decided to take Julio's side, and when he did, Kristen found that very hypocritical. Tim called Kenny daddy after all, and then said that it didn't mean anything. When Tim pulls this stuff, he does seem a bit too harsh. Why criticize Kristen for doing something that he also does? Tim's having a hard time finding lasting love. Not that he can't be happy on his own. Veronica and Tim were happy for a long time, but eventually, they fought too much. Then, Tim embarked on a romance with a woman named Linda, but that relationship didn't go the distance. While there's no reason why Tim needs to stay in a romance if he doesn't want to, he may be causing trouble in his relationships. Maybe he's demanding. Leos need so much TLC. They also act entitled sometimes. A Leo with fame is a lot. It's a person who's living out their destiny, But celebrity can change a Leo person, turning them into a monster. Tim may need to assess his post-fame personality and make some adjustments. Change is possible. Tim isn't always a monster, but he has his moments. He's a person who's so polarizing. However, that might be part of his appeal. He's unwilling to be anyone but himself. He does not fake things. Sometimes he goes too far, but people can feel the honesty. Also, he's a charismatic guy. The 90-day fiancé celeb has some issues that he needs to work on. If he tries to tone down his worst excesses, he could become a bona fide fan favorite. If he doesn't change, he may get cancelled someday. There's only so much that fans can take.